Hello, everyone. It is a pleasure to welcome you to today's ErgoLab session, Discover MedCodr, Prudentia's medical coding solution. My name is Zlatko, and I work as a People Development Associate. I'm joined by Marcelo Diaz, a partner at Prudentia, and Umangyani, who is a senior consultant. They will start by introducing Prudentia and the work they do, before focusing on MedCodr, its capabilities, client use cases, future direction, and a live demonstration.
So as Lacto mentioned, we are going to really focus today on Prudentia's MedCodr application. We'll give a bit of an introduction of what Prudentia is and does, but then we'll really dive into the core and the heart of today's meeting, which is to talk about our medical coding solution, how it behaves, what our proposition is, who are the typical type of users, and more importantly, we're really going to dive into the actual capabilities, which my colleague Umang, will start will demo the application for everyone. With that said, so Prudentia, many of you may have heard the buzzword Prudentia around. I may not necessarily know exactly what Prudentia does and where we came from. So the organization was started back in 2012 by several partners. I was one of them. And back then, we were only 3 of us. Eventually, we grew the organization after several years to a handful of individuals, a bit more of a handful, 170 plus. And we really started the organization as a true management consulting firm, and we were focused around pharmacovigilance primarily. And the reason from that is because all the partners and the individuals that we're working with, we sort of lived and breathed pharmacovigilance in our prior lives. It was part of our fiber. So we really started the organization focusing on those services. But then we slowly realized that we were finding a lot of gaps out there in the industry on the pharmacovigilance side, but also a bit in the clinical side as well. And through those findings, we realized that we probably wanted to start building some technology aspects around the organization. And so we not only became people who knew about pharmacovigilance, but we also set ourselves to be, individuals who had turnkey applications to bridge those gaps and to easily solve some complex problems. Fast forward to today, we have several applications in our bag of tricks, one of them being MedCodr. And we've also partnered with some of the big boys out there, such as Oracle and Veeva. And Veeva specifically is a very good partnership for us because we have two flavors of partnerships. One, it's around implementation services. So we are the individuals who know Veeva 60, for example, in and out. And Veeva comes to us, and many companies come to us to help them implement their safety solution. But also we have a technology partnership with Veeva, which is really around MedCodr. So as we go into the details on MedCodr, you'll see that one of the applications that we integrate with this is Veeva EDC. So all value-added stuff that we have within the organization. So not necessarily we'll walk through every single thing that our organization does, but as you see, we have 3 key verticals. The first 2 are really around the consulting services that we offer, either day-to-day true pharmacovigilance consulting around how to implement a safety database, or how to write your SOPs, or maybe you want overall project management for a particular pharmacovigilance project. Its distant cousin to it is managed services. So a lot of times organizations will help them implement a safety database, maybe it's Veeva, and then they come to us and say, listen, we need to actually manage this safety database. Please come in and help us configure it. Please come in and help us, maybe write reports around it, and so on and so forth. Last but not least is our products, which is our third arm of our organization. We have several products out there. Most of them are tied to pharmacovigilance, but MedCodr now explores and goes across their clinical side. So We consider MedCodr medical coding solution for clinical as well as safety. And along with that, as you see on the bottom left here, we also provide coding services. So organizations come to us and they may want to outsource the clinical coding. So we take on that responsibility. We bring it in-house. We use MedCodr to code that, and sort of goes very well hand in hand with our coding solution. Next, so we have a good breadth of individuals and different roles within the organization. They are, not just project managers and folks that actually know the healthcare industry, but there are folks that are really, a lot of the folks, especially the ones that I have on red, are the ones that are truly focused on the MedCodr solution. So folks that are helping organizations do the change management activities, develop the application, validate the application, qualify the application, and medical coders, as I mentioned earlier. We are pretty much in various aspects of the globe. We have offices here in the US, where Umang and I are located in the East Coast of the United States. And then we have an on and offshore model where we have folks within in India, Bangalore, Noida, and Mysore. And our clients span across the globe as well, in pretty much every single continent in the world. So our footprint is quite wide, both from the roles within the organization as well as where we sit and where our clients reside. All right, so let's get to the fun of it, right? So MedCodr, probably a buzzword as well. And there are quite a few products out there who offer out-of-the-box medical coding solutions. So the natural question is, well, why MedCodr? Why, if we buy Veeva Safety, why don't we just use our coding solution, right? So the reality is that coding can be quite simple in terms of its function. So at the end of the day, it's grabbing a term and a medical verbatim and basically mapping it to a standard dictionary, whether it's MedDRA or WHO drug. And sometimes they may be mapped to custom dictionaries. But there are very few organizations out there or softwares out there that actually do the other stuff that is related to coding. And so the MedCodr solution basically brings all those components and functionalities together into one single platform. It allows you to then browse in a very intelligent way the dictionaries out there. It allows you to not just search for those codes, but search for them intelligently with some AI capabilities built into it. And then allows you to easily, it allows an organization to easily make a determination of how to grab that term and code it in the most efficient way and the most qualified way. And then last but not least, and we're going to talk about all these in great detail, by the way, when we get into the presentation of the application. But last but not least, the integration has come as a very strong need in the last maybe 5 to 10 years, where organizations then don't just want to look to perform this medical coding activities in a vacuum in one system and figure out how information goes back and forth between their safety databases or the EDC systems. So we built quite an extensive breadth of integration points. A lot of them are through APIs, which allow organizations to basically send that information back and forth seamlessly. So a term appears let's say on Veeva Safety, on Veeva EDC, that term requires to be coding. That term gets pushed into the MedCodr solution, it gets coded there, and then it gets sent back to its source system. So that integration piece is quite comprehensively built, is quite well put together, and that's one of our most sales driven capabilities. So I may repeat myself a little bit here, but at the end of the day, the application itself, I would say it sells itself because of the features that it has, the capabilities that it has. I mentioned a bit of it earlier. It used to be, several years ago that the search capabilities were quite simple and they were pretty much all the same across many of the medical coding applications. But as AI and machine learning has become more of a trend, we have to follow that trend, and now we have incorporated those capabilities within the application. It's no longer just enter one single word and look for the matching term. You can actually enter a whole sentence now, and the application itself will interpret that as best as possible and give you the best outcome. And as just any AI model, it will learn on its own. We have a generic model that's coming in out of the box, but then each model will learn its own organization and become more and more efficient as it grows within their organization. We talked about it, integration. I consider the application sort of the central medical coding solution. So it's not just on the clinical side, but it's also on the safety side. And it's not just a flat file going back and forth, but it's truly fully integrated with almost no interaction from the user in terms of sending the information across the systems. We work quite hard and intensively on the architecture, and it's severalfold. One, to ensure that the various capabilities of the applications are architected in a way so they don't interfere with each other. And second is so we have an offering that is diverse for our clients, where you have clients that may require, because of the internal data privacies and securities and so on, they may require their own standing application in their own instance with nobody else playing around with it. Or they may be a bit more flexible and maybe want to be a bit more cost effective, and they can go into a multi-tenant environment. So we have that range within the application, and each one suits its purpose. We've been around for a little while now, so I think if you talk to the main EDC players, so if you go out there and start talking to people about medical coding solutions, our name will definitely be brought up. We've been around about 8 years now. We have 30 plus clients. The application has matured quite significantly, and we continue to grow as we move along. So I mentioned this a bit before. In reality, the true heart of the application is to ensure that you can code terms to consistently to MedDRA and drugs to WHO drug. And it's not just as much of searching and finding. There's all these other aspects about it that go along with the MedDRA and WHO drug. For example, every year these dictionaries get upgraded twice a year. And if you're an organization that has thousands and thousands of records and an upgrade comes, then there is a need for the application to easily upgrade those terms from the older version to the newer version, being able to, as an organization, to understand where those changes are, being able to display how those changes will occur, and then being able to easily action on those with speed and quality. So as I mentioned earlier, the architecture was a big component to allowing for these type of activities. So it's not just coding at the end of the day. There's a lot of other aspects that go beyond the coding itself. At the end, it's more efficient, more quality, right? Faster and better. I mentioned quite a bit of these things already in the next two slides. The solution that we'll present today is going to be the MedCodr 4.0. And so far, the last 8 years, we've been really tagging along, understanding the market, understanding the needs, and we've come together and gather all those needs and gather the market, and we put that into our new solution, which is the 4.0. It's a completely revamped application from the ground up, from the architecture, from its validation, from a lot of the functionalities. And we spent quite a bit of time with our anchor clients in the last 4, 5, 6 months literally meeting with them, presenting the data and adjusting and adjusting and adjusting, because that's really where our value comes from. It's listening to our clients and making that application that something that's good for them, because at the end we know if they're happy, the word of mouth will be golden for us, and it will allow for it to be propagated into other clients as well. So all the things here that you see in the value proposition, all the items that you see here in the MedCodr 4 capabilities are really things that we're quite proud of, and we work intensively and continue to work intensively to get into the application. The solution, it's almost fully developed, so we're showing you something that's probably 90% there. We didn't want to show the older version because I think it really is unjustifiable. If it really would not necessarily show what the application is about if we did that. And we are about to launch that application in the next couple of months, around May timeframe. So with that said, I believe, Umang, it's time for you to shine and show us what it is that I've been talking about this whole time.
Thank you, Marcelo, and thank you
Yeah.
everyone for joining this call. So this is MedCodr 4.0. MedCodr 4.0 is web-based multi-tenant coding solution. So this is what is a landing page. So whenever user will log in, this will be welcomed by this page. The beauty of this page is this can be configured by the user themselves. They can see what are the important criteria that they want to see before they start their day. And they can get a glimpse before they go into project itself or doing their day-to-day activity in MedCodr. They will get an idea of how many coded terms are there, how many uncoded terms are there, what would be their priority, and so on. So if you go on the left side, this is a navigation panel. Navigation panel helps to navigate in the system. This is user-friendly panel, and you can see all these criteria, all these segments are defined, and they are self-explanatory. So user doesn't have to do any guesswork. They can realize where they have to go for what activity. So if you see in summary, it is a homepage that was welcome, which is user configured, and user can see what they want to prioritize for the day. The other one is the dashboard. Dashboard gives user a higher level idea of what's going on inside the MedCodr. It gives you like how many terms are there that has to be coded, how many terms are due, how many terms are overdue, and how many projects you have access or how many projects are running inside the MedCodr. So if you see here, it gives you the project that is present, which dictionary it uses, and all these verbatims. Either they are assigned or they are not assigned or they have completed the verbatim. This one is hyperlinked. So user can just go and click on unassigned term and they will directly jump into unassigned term and they can see the terms or they can perform their activities. The other option that we have is the report. Here, company can generate strategic reports, whether to identify what's the coding status, what kind of improvements we need, if they have if they want to see just like what are the consistency analysis, like how system is coding or versus how our coders are coding. This all strategic report can be generated with this report tab. Along with that, then you have this workspace. We will explore this workspace. This is the main action tab where coding and browsing of the term happens. Then you have this configuration. So MedCodr comes with configuration itself. We already have out-of-box solutions and configuration assigned and validated. But this page, this panel helps a client to fine-tune this MedCodr to their needs. And then you have this control panel where admin activity takes place, where the users, dictionary management, audit logs, and other items can be performed for the admin usage. So let me go to workspace. So as I said, as Marcelo said, the one of the features that MedCodr has is about the browsing. So think this one as a Google search. So whenever we are sick or whenever we have some symptoms, I know most of you have, but I don't know about most of you, but I have definitely searched the symptoms on Google. So when I search the symptoms, I get list of these diseases, and then I get scared sometimes, like, oh, how many diseases I have just by one symptoms. So it basically does the same thing. It gives you list of the terms that are associated with particular symptoms, but it does in a much finer way. So it will give you all the relevant items related to that term. So for example, let's say my head is light. We live in this multilingual world. I would say my head is light. Somebody would say my head is spinning, my head feels dizzy, and so on. And now imagine these all terms are getting into our safety system. It becomes a chaos if we have to analyze all these different terms into a particular signal or safety analysis. It becomes a nightmare. So this MedCodr or Hoodra, what they do is they standardize this term. They give a meaning, a single meaning to these all different terms and make it universally recognizable. In MedCodr, we support two dictionaries, Meta Dictionary and Hoodrug Dictionary. They both are based on the usage a client would select. A Meta Dictionary is generally used for medical terms, whereas a Hoodrug is used for medical products. Along with this, MedCodr also offers the custom dictionaries. So client can have their own custom dictionary, and if the user wants to identify a particular term, um, in the custom dictionary, they are capable enough to. So let me show you. Let's say user has a term and they want to look into term like my head is light. So they will simply just type my head is light term, and they will get all these dictionary meanings. Metra has a different hierarchies. It goes from a singular layer to a more broader term. Think this one as like your Google Maps. So when you are zooming in into the Google Maps, you can actually go to a street level. But when you zoom out, it would go to a city level, it will go to state level, and at the country level. The same way this dictionary works. They have the different hierarchy, and the different hierarchy gives you broader perspective of that particular term. So let me just search my head is light. While we are searching, the AI and algorithm would work in background. They will identify what does this term mean. My head is light is more like a fuzzy term. It's not a particular event. It's just a fuzzy term that we use in our day to day. So AI, this MedCodr has a capability to even look the fuzzy term, understand what the term means, and score it according to the nearest possibility. So here you get the dizziness, which is the correct meaning of it. The first thing that the user would see is the score. Score is think this one as a confidence score of a system. In MedCodr, we have configured n number of algorithm. So n number of algorithm will work as soon as I hit enter or search. N number of algorithm will work together to find what my head is light. My head is light means. Then it will give a confidence score based on those, and it will present to the customer. So now user will come here and they'll say it's dizzy. They'll say 67. So anywhere which goes near to the one, it's a high confidence. So if it was 0.75, it would be high confidence than 0.67. And now if you see here, you have this dizziness, and dizziness is linked with some other higher term, which will go HLT term called neurological signs and symptoms NEC. So this is your city level, and then it goes higher to neurological disorder, and finally it goes to a family called nervous system disorder. So this is how a hierarchical way a client uses this broader term. So from a particular term to a broader term, these all analyses are used by pharmaceuticals and healthcare authority to identify the safety signal of that particular event. So this is from like a a particular version to a broader version. If the user knows that okay they want to look into a term inside a nervous system disorder, MedCodr has the capability to go from top down approach. So user will come on this dictionary level. These are the different family or SOC we call are present. So now user can go in this nervous system disorder. Then they can go to HLGT level, and if they know they're going to a neurological disorder NEC, they'll go to neurological NEC. Then they can go more granular, and they'll go neurological signs and symptoms NEC. And there you have a term that we are looking for, dizziness. And now you see there are so many terms which translates to nothing but a dizziness. And this is how user uses the MedCodr and user used to find particular term and event. Along with this fuzzy term search, MedCodr also have a capability to do a spell check or find if there was a misspell. Umang is always in a hurry, and he types unfinished spelling or does a spelling mistake. MedCodr has a capability to understand what user might have told and then bring along different terms which could relate to head or headache. So this is how a browsing feature works in MedCodr. Before I move to coding, do we have any question, or do we want to take a question in the last?
We will take the questions at the end. Thank you.
Okay. So this is how our browsing feature works in MedCodr. And so now we will go to the main part of MedCodr called coding. So this is coding. Code would be the segment where user would be spending their most of the time in coding. You see there are two options called verbitums and coding queries. So user will come to verbitum to see verbitum to code the terms of interest. So if you see on this side, you have these multiple items called Medra demo or MedCodr Medra or Veeva Medra. They are nothing but the projects configured by the company at company level. So what are these projects? Projects, think this one as a workbook. This workbook is defined by at client level. So client will decide that, okay, they want to configure, do they want to code against clinical studies, or they want to do with which particular trial they want to code this project with, or they want to code this with a safety system. Along with that, client can also decide which dictionary they want to use, whether they want to use Who Drug dictionary, or they want to use a meta dictionary, or they want to have their own custom dictionary to be coded against. It can also be integrated to the different system at a different project level as well. The one of the main USP of MedCodr is that we are centralized coding solution. So client doesn't need a two different system to code one clinical part and other system for coding the pharmacovigilance side of it. MedCodr supports both. So that's why this project helps client to differentiate how they want to code against what dictionary and what system. If you see this meta demo has 58%. This indicates the terms that are sitting inside this project, how many have a completed. The lifecycle or coding is completed. So it gives you high level status of, okay, if there were like 19, even 58% of the terms are coded, and now we have some manual activity to be done. So I will go in the this project. So in MedCodr, coding works in two different ways. One is auto coding and one is manual coding. As we did in browsing, auto coding is like, once you have a system integrated, or if you upload a term, system will automatically code that term to the nearest possible term. And again, in coding, auto coding, they will use the score system that we discussed earlier. This score system threshold can be defined by a client themselves. So for example, if client is telling that any code which has a confidence score of 0.75 should be auto-coded, anything above 0.75 would be auto-coded, and anything below would go for manual coding. That means a user will come to the system, they will see what is the nearest term, they will use their expertise, and they will code it to the correct term. So we discussed earlier that it can be integration or it could be manual. So I will show you different ways by which MedCodr will get the terms. So right now in this project, either user can just come here and add orbital term if they know what was the term or what is the term that they want to code. They can just add the orbitum and then they can add it here, and then they can do their manual coding. Or if they have the file, let's assume that the MedCodr is not integrated with any safety system or any EDC system, but they get the spreadsheet or they get some files which has these uncoded terms. So what user will do is user will come here. They will go to import verbatim. They will browse the file that they have in their system. For this demo, I have prepared a MedRA file that would be used. If you see it directly, MedCodr reads the file, it assigns the label, it automatically maps your Excel or your source documents label column with the column present at the MedCodr. And once user imports, you will get all this file loaded here. I will just have to do a refresh. And now you see we have these all different 20 terms loaded in our MedCodr. So user doesn't have to manually type in each and every term. Just upload a spreadsheet or any source document, and boom, you have all this stuff. So depending on how a company has configured or client has configured the project, as soon as the term enters the MedCodr, it will either autocode or user have to manually start auto coding. So for spreadsheet, we're gonna manually auto code. So user can select all the terms that they want to code. Then they will start an auto coding. This is a manual way of auto coding. So now you see that you have this all list coming up that it gives you option to select which terms you want to select. For now we're just going to say all verbatim. But what would happen is the project is on a continuous basis. Now you have already coded some term, and now you have multi-selected the term. So and what would happen is like if you want to just select uncoded terms, user might have to select one by one. But this feature avoids that, and you can only say, hey, if I select multiple, but still I want to code only unassigned verbatim. So this saves time and manual and boring activity of selecting one term at a time. So once you start auto coding, system will work in background. A user will get an email, and if you see now we see all this term. Sorry. So now you see the this project has 55% completed, and now we have this all coding completed for different verbatims. So this saves time. 55% is already completed by one click. So, and now let me just filter on auto coded. Coding completed. So these all terms got auto coded by system. You can see the score is already listed. So all these had a score of 1. And system find this confident, and they completed this activity. And so now for uncoded terms, what user will do is user can just go here and search for no auto match, and this will list all the items which are not automatically coded, and now user will perform the manual activity. So let's say user want to code this swelling in left arm. They will simply go and search for verbatim. Again, manual activity is also it will also suggest all the terms that system finds it more relevant. So if you see there is a score of 0.80 for swelling arm, and this is the term that user wants to code, they'll just manually code this verbatim, and you will see left arm got dropped from our not coded list, and here a swelling in left arm now got completed. If you see the status is not completed yet because now user will follow the company workflow to make it to a completion point. There is another feature that a MedCodr has is like let's say swelling in left arm is never getting auto coded. It's always becoming a manual activity because the company has although it has a 0.08, but company has a threshold that it will only auto code if it's anything term is above 0.8, and that's why it's getting left out. I'm going every time and I see that swelling in left arm is really common. And now I have to do this manual activity every day. So what could happen? What user can do is they can select this term once it's coded, and then they can submit as a candidate. When they submit as a candidate, it gets submitted as a synonym candidate. As a name itself, synonym is like a meaning of it. So once it's approved, anytime the swelling in left arm comes, hits the MedCodr, it will directly be coded to arm swelling. And this is how the manual and auto coding works in MedCodr. So now then you see these coding queries. What happens, this coding query is generally used. So now you got this term. You don't know what's going on. You need more information. So user can submit a coding query. Query itself means a questionnaire. So they will ask questions to either to a EDC team or whether to their PV safety team. That what does the term means, or if they have any particular question, like what was the onset, and so on. And that all list gets get generated, submitted here or maintained here. Once they get the response, then they can proceed and start coding. So that is another feature that the user uses to manage their queries. Then you have these different dictionaries, which is maintained by at a client level. So this is the synonym list that I was talking about. So now your left arm swelling, user submitted as a synonym candidate. It ends here in their project folder. The other team would see assess if it's a right candidate, or it should be credited to something else, or it should not be entertained at all. So the workflow of confirming the term whether it's a synonym or not would be taken care in this workflow. So once synonym left arm swelling was submitted and accepted as a synonym of arm swelling, anytime you will have this term coming into your dictionary or in your MedCodr, in that particular project, it will be always coding it to arm swelling. And again, synonym list can be separate according to the project. So if you can have a synonym list of one term coded to, let's say, left arm swelling to arm swelling in one project, but left arm swelling can be also coded to some other, can be synonym to other term in different projects according to the need of a client or how client interprets. So this is what would be there in the synonyms. This is the impact analysis. So as Marcelo said previously, that we get 2 times dictionary of version in a year. So that is like 2 times you will get MedCodr dictionary of version, 2 times you will get a whole drug dictionary of version. So anytime as a Prudentia, we would upload those dictionary to MedCodr, and here the client would come and see what would be the impact to their present term. If they have to change any coding, if they have to change any synonym list, or they have to do any kind of their CMQs and SMQ update, they would be able to see the actions, view and analyze this action and take action, so that whenever you have a new version, your system and your projects are already ready to be coded to the new upgraded version of the dictionary. Then you have these migration analysis and concepts which are used depending on the client's need. So this is what all the coding segment looks at the MedCodr. Then we have is configuration. Configuration is, as I said, like MedCodr is already been has a lot of configuration which is available out of the box. Mainly the client will use this to fine tune the configuration according to their needs. This is a verbatim status. This is nothing but designing the workflow at client level. The score that we have seen, which gives 54, 60%, it all depends on where the term is at particular workflow stage. So these all are the workflow stage based on how client wants to configure. They can configure the workflow. There are some part which are like, for example, coding completed becomes a default, because that drives a percentage for the status of how many terms are coded or remaining to be coded in particular project. Then we have these projects. As I mentioned, projects are the main. It's like a workbook that is defined by a client. This is where a client would configure different kind of projects to what dictionary they want to configure, what dictionary version they want to use, how they want to sync, whether they want a standard, they want integration, and so on. Then you have the standard queries. So as I said, like, same as a query, company or client can decide their standard queries. So already the questionnaire would be present, would be defined here based on the information. It could auto trigger, and they can maintain their standard queries right here in this system. And then you have these auto orbitum queries and term policies. They are the different part of configuration. And again, configuration is standard. It comes as a pre-validated as well. So this saves customer time and material, and it becomes easy for the implementation as well. Then we have this company preference. This is nothing but more about, like, what kind of layout company wants to select, how many verbatims they list per page, what would be the dictionary field, like SOC or relative levels they want to use, or like different hierarchy they want to see in a project. Then coding terms where, like, they can decide what would be the due date for the term. Like if term hits today, when we want to call it that it's overdue, or when we want to send an alert that it's due soon. This all gets configured in this coding queries, and company preferences gives that platform for company to mainly to decide how a system would feel and work like. And then we have the integration. I guess, Marcelo, would you like to take integration?
Sure. I just want to take a quick step back and summarize. You went through a lot of stuff, and thank you very much, Umang. I think you've done it definitely good justice in a very few minutes. Usually it takes quite a bit of time just to go through the application itself. But I think several key takeaways are that the application is extremely malleable, configurable. So you can twist it and turn it in any way you want to ensure that it's applicable to your own business needs, whether it's how automated you want the application to be from a coding perspective, how many individuals you have in your team, if it's a two-man shop versus a woman shop versus a whole group, and whether the application is integrated with other parts of the organization. It allows you to do all that in one central location. So that's extremely valuable, and very easy for us to sort of present and sell to a needed client. The other aspects of it is that this configuration aspect of the application, we started with very few components of the application being configurable. We understood as we went along that the customers wanted more hands-on in terms of how the application looks and feels, and they wanted us to be more hands-off. In other words, do we have to go to Prudentia every time we want to add a new study? Do we got to go to Prudentia every time we need to do a comparison dictionary upgrade report? So we've come quite far now to the point that there is almost, I would say, almost no customization to the application. Is fully configurable, and then we have these very robust configuration reports that when companies wants to install and configure the application, as you go through the validation activities, these reports are literally exported from the application and sort of pasted into a configuration specification document, for example. And so when you do any kind of upgrades or any changes to the application, you have full transparency, validated solution that gives you these exports. So, those are some of the key aspects I think that we try to bring out in this new version of the application. With that said, we touch a bit on integration, and let me go right to the integration aspect. So the integration, we've been working through it quite extensively. The application can easily talk and speak to any solution out there, whether it's a safety system, whether it's a clinical system. And so we have different layers of how the application behaves from an integration perspective. The first layer would be anything that's API related, whether MedCodr has its built API capabilities, which it does for many EDC systems, or whether there's a third party out there that we can leverage their APIs to integrate. And that's really the easiest way for systems to talk to each other and get that information back and forth. We then know that some organizations have, very, especially some CROs have different type of EDCs that they work with, EDC solutions, and it may not be cost effective to integrate to every single EDC solution and build APIs, and some EDCs may not even have that capability. So we have this MF5, which is MedCodr File Exchange capability, which is basically what Uma was showing you. It's an import export of a flat file that has a list of terms in a very specific format, and then an organization can actually export it from the source EDC, import it into MedCodr, code to the applicable terms, then export it back out and import it into the EDC solution. It's not as seamless integration, but it works well for some of the clients that need that. So for the coding services that we provide, a lot of times we use this capability because we don't go out there and link to an organization that requires just coding services. They just give us the files, and we basically work with those files to do the coding on their behalf. The third layer is the database link. So this is a bit more tedious. Sometimes we may have to do this with some of the safety systems. And that's really writing code against the different databases so they talk behind the scenes. There's a bit more customizable, a bit less used, but it's available for those organizations that want us to have that. Okay, I think that takes care of my side, Umang.
Sure. So we would like to show like how we have integrated or how the integration between Veeva EDC or any other safety system or any other EDC at client level would work with MedCodr. So let me go to MedCodr first. As we said, like we have a project in under Veeva. So we have integrated this Veeva Medra with Veeva EDC system. Right now, if I go to Veeva EDC system, I have around like 22 terms which are waiting to be coded. So client in the setup scenario, this would work as a scheduler. Like scheduler will run from the MedCodr. It will take these all terms from the EDC and it will bring to MedCodr. But for today's exercise, we're gonna show you a manual way of doing it. And again, if the client doesn't want to wait for schedule to run, they do still have the option to manually run the integration and scheduler and pick the file from Veeva EDC. So I will go to Veeva EDC. I would go and click run. When I click run, system will again give a call to Veeva EDC. It will pick all the term. It will bring it to MedCodr. It will be doing auto coding in background, and once it's done, a user will get an email saying that your code integrate your import was completed, the auto coding was completed, and now it is ready for your review. So when I go here, I will go to Veeva EDC. So now you see it was 0 term. Now we got these all terms. We have 73% coding already completed while client was just doing their day-to-day activity. And now they can just go ahead and review, and then they will start doing the manual coding. As we discussed earlier, all coded terms get score. So all have one. We have one for partial match. So system has not completed the workflow, and it is looping a human to review it and make sure that whatever MedCodr has coded is appropriate, and then they can close that loop and then go for all unmatched items. So this is how the end-to-end coding would work with MedCodr setup. Along with that, we also have different control panels. This is main like an admin app. Sorry, It got give me a minute. Sorry, it's still a demo environment. We are working in background, so it gets kicked out sometimes. But it would this something like this would not happen at client level, as this application is in development. We do see some errors as of now.
It's okay, Umang. We don't have to necessarily go into the administrative function. I mean, there's a whole admin area where organizations can manage all aspects of the administration of the application, and we secluded that into its own.
Right.
But I think with that, Umang, we've covered the best of our capabilities for the time that we have, and hopefully, you know, the ins and outs of the applications. There's a lot more that we can sit through, but hopefully you guys got a good overview of what the application entails.
As we are reaching the end of our session, I think this is a nice place for me to thank our presenters for the amazing session. See you guys
Thank
next
you.
time.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, everyone.
Thanks,
Cheers.
everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.